We
Hmm.
want to thrive rather than just survive. And that is the invitation to the work I do. We want to transform that programming and make it more elegant and workable
Mm.
and emotionally resonant with truth and divine intelligence. So we have to get stuff out of the way, unwrinkling and ironing out all that conditioning so we can actually be, I think, in alignment and in resonance with um, our spiritual and our soulful way of knowing ourselves. So the body is like the key. It's like the last frontier and it's the first frontier.
Hello and welcome to the Soul Awakening podcast. I'm your host, Kat Fowler, and I'm so excited to bring this week's episode to you. So, today we're talking all about the body. And I think sometimes when we are in the spiritual field, the energetic world, the metaphysical world, we kind of forget that this is like our home and it's so important for our healing process. And I know in some spiritual traditions, they kind of talk about the body as if it's like this dense thing that we, don't really need to worry about because we just need to sublimate everything and go up and get enlightened. But while talking with Fred, I had some really profound realizations, and I hope you do too, around his over 50 years of somatic healing work with thousands and thousands of clients. And he's had his own school since 1978. So he's like a real master healer that we're talking to today. And so in today's episode, we really talk a lot about the aspect of healing, how the body stores things, how to release it, the different planes of the body and what it means. So you can like listen and really identify for yourself, maybe if you have things going on, what could be the cause. The conversation was so amazing and his wisdom is so profound. And the funny thing about it is he doesn't even have any social media. So he's kind of hard to find. It's kind of like you hear about him, and if you're lucky enough and you live in Northern California, you can do sessions with him or study his trainings. But if not, I got lucky enough to find him actually through Zach, who was our featured last episode, the pro athlete runner. And this was his healer that he was talking so much about. So luckily we got to talk, and I'm so excited to bring Fred onto the show today. And I'm just going to read his bio too, so you have a little bit of an idea of his extensive and truly incredible history of work. So, Fred Mitouer, Ph.D., is internationally known for his groundbreaking somatic therapy. He created the Pacific School of Massage in 1978 and transformational bodywork in 1989. He has recently introduced somatic agency as his latest evolution of work. Fred invites the curious and the bold, those who are willing to answer the call to the internal adventure to manifest a healthier and more activated body and spirit. Through shamanic depths and psychological expertise and training, Fred removes barriers and helps engage greater purpose in this present moment. He continues to empower and transform the consciousness and physical states of countless individuals in diverse fields, spanning the creative arts to the corporate world. Fred has been a featured presenter in international conferences, including the International Somatics Congress, which he co sponsored with the Association of Humanistic Psychology, the State of the World Forum, and the Ninth International Conference on Conflict Resolution in St. Petersburg, Russia. His writings have appeared in Perspective Magazine, Massage Magazine, Common Ground, Yoga Journal, and many more. He is a contributor to the award winning book, Healing the Heart of the World. He is the author of the book Wounds into Blessings, which includes a sharing of stories that address the epic challenges that many of us face as physical spiritual beings. It brings to light insights and opportunities of what it is to truly be alive and conscious. Fred has presented his work in a variety of venues, including Paris, Hong Kong, throughout the United States, and has maintained a private practice in Northern California for over 40 years. He is a father, a grandfather, and lives with his wife, Cheryl, on California's Mendocino coast. Together, they founded Dragon's Breath Theater, a forum for cultural experiments in consciousness and irreverent play. In his leisure time, he sculpts in metal and stone and rides his dragons. So I got so much out of this conversation, and I hope that you do too. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the episode. All right. Hi, Fred. Thank you so much for coming onto the show. I'm super excited to have you here today.
Thank you, Kat, for
So,
having me.
yes. So, in the last episode, we actually had Zachary Friedley, and he was talking so much about you and how you changed his life. You basically got him from where he was, not believing in himself, to through your work with him, moved him into a different place. Then we spoke, and I was just kind of blown away by your experience, what you do. And I watched your video today. I finished
Oh,
it.
good.
I was crying. I was crying at the end. It's beautiful. Like it's just what you do is with people is absolutely beautiful. And you're a master at what you do. So if we can start with you work with the body, you work with the subtle energy in the body, and you do so many things with that. You have so much training, so many different backgrounds that you came in with. So, can you share a little bit about your journey of how you came to start doing what you're doing and what
Oh
it
my
is
goodness.
exactly that you do?
Okay, well, where to begin? I guess we begin with mommy and daddy, right? Yeah. I came in from another plane into this dimension, and I had a gift, and I knew at birth, I'm a man with a mission.
Mhm.
And I was always too much in my home.
Mm.
And my mom had arthritis, and my father was Fragile X on the spectrum of autism.
Oh.
So I was in a home basically with kind of free range, and I saw my mom's arthritis, and in my hands, I went to her shoulders, and I gifted her relief, right?
Hmm.
So as a child, I knew that my hands had heart,
Hmm.
and that I got immediate satisfaction out of being in connection. And that was my through line growing up, touch.
Hmm.
So if you go to the formative years of all of our lives, these things have paramount importance
Hmm.
in the way we manifest our relationships to everything, including, marriage and career
Hmm.
and destiny.
Hmm.
So, over the years, I studied all kinds of traditional healing practices, and I'm a student. I'm a student of divine intelligence,
Yeah.
and many traditions have great offerings, and I've always studied them, but I'm not a joiner. In other
Hmm.
words, I don't become a Hindu or a Buddhist or,
Hmm.
a Rolfer or a Reichian therapist or a
Hmm.
traditional Chinese medicine. But I study these things, but I don't ever surrender and like, this is what I do. So I'm an eclectic. I've collected so many different kinds of modalities and approaches. So when I actually now touch a person, I'm 75 years old, and I've been doing this work for 53 years. Um, I just go into the field and experience what there is and what needs to happen and what could possibly manifest if only I was able to make a transformational process occur, right? Um, so I try and be knowledgeable, but not too much in the know. And I
Hmm.
want to be in the wisdom channel of what could be.
Hmm.
And there's a noumena space of listening deeply to the karmic contract of a person in their embodiment. And sometimes it's very clear, and sometimes, it's paradoxical, and I have to figure it out.
Mm.
And that's what I like. It's like a chess game. What's my move on a
Mm.
person's nervous system and how they respond? And then I make my move, and we begin to find our way into the sort of the biocomputer of the DNA and the karmic contract of how we hold um, our our contract with our incarnation,
Hmm. Hmm.
and it shows up in the body, which is all basically a formation of mind. And
Mm,
so I look at the legs and the arms and the torso, and the head, the belly, and the guts and everything
mhm,
as different parts of consciousness.
mhm,
So, you look at the legs, where do they want to go? You look at the arms, what do they want to do? You look at the torso all the way from the perineum all the way up into the crown. How do I want to be? So these three verbs, going, doing, and being, are the way we move and happen in our existence.
mm,
And what we do with these verbs has to do with what our erotic impulses are, what our sense of destiny might be, what our inclinations, and there's a click, and we find inspiration through that little click of, oh, this is me, this is who I am, this is what I need to do. And then we find obstacles along the way that start to shape us. And at some point, we move through our life and we get wrinkled by the world pushing against us. And
mhm,
so these wrinkles, and sometimes they're crunches and sometimes they're twists. So a person that may have had a domestic violent experience in a home, or a person that was lonely, um, or a person that was very smart but not appreciated. These wrinkles become our character. And
mhm,
at some point, our personality is formed with all these wrinkles and twists and crunches. And we actually form an identity that works to survive sometimes pretty well. And we become efficient at making things happen and supporting ourselves or not.
mhm,
And at some point in our life, we realize that we want to do something different than survive well. We
mhm,
want to thrive rather than just survive. And that is the invitation to the work I do. We want to transform that programming and make it more elegant and workable
mhm,
and emotionally resonant with truth and divine intelligence. So we have to get stuff out of the way, unwrinkling and ironing out all that conditioning, so we can actually be, I think, in alignment and in resonance with um, our spiritual and our soulful way of knowing ourselves. So the body is like the key. It's like the last frontier and it's the first frontier.
mhm,
So a
mhm,
lot of people that have come to see me and the students that I've taught, um, they've already done much medicine work.
mhm,
They've also done a tremendous amount of meditation, and they've done a lot of psychological work, but they haven't done the somatic piece. So that's going back into the body. And that's where we start looking at the archives
mm,
of how we be and how we do and where we go. And that's the interesting part of body work, but conscious body work. And it's almost like going in and unwinding a programming,
mhm,
psychic or somatopsychic karmic surgery,
mhm,
taking out all these imprints.
mhm,
And then we find out who we really are. It's almost like going back to the Garden of Eden and being
mhm,
a human in the field of divine intelligence. And then our body feels resonant with aliveness,
mhm.
possibility. So, how's that for an opening?
Amazing. I wrote down like 10 different things I want to talk about with
All
that.
right, we can just keep going.
All right. So, wow. So first off, when you're saying like the wrinkles, the twists in the body, are you talking on like a fascial layer? Like,
Well, yeah, you could look at it on a fascial layer, muscular layer, and a consciousness layer,
mm-hmm,
and an emotional layer.
mm-hmm,
They're all basically many dimensions, many
mm-hmm,
layers
mm-hmm,
of experience. Within the physical, there's a metaphysical aspect. So it's all woven together. So it's cellular memory of what happened when we were 3 or 10, what happened in the backyard or in the basement or on the playing field. It comes out of our experience when we're being touched.
Mm-hmm.
And I think touch and smell are very primitive, very primal kinds of experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And intimacy, which is the issue of our day, how do we actually feel connected to other,
Mm-hmm.
and feel that we are loved, we are safe, all is well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if we didn't bond with our mother because it didn't feel that way, we look for that bonding somewhere else,
Mm-hmm.
other mother. And so there's a tendency to find in relationships a resolution to the lack of feeling secure
Mm-hmm.
and therefore free.
So, can you talk a little bit about when someone first comes to you? How does that work? Is it like as soon as you sit down, you're kind of seeing them clairvoyantly, or you're just looking at the body patterns when they're on your table? How do you know where to start first, where to direct your hands, how to go where the trauma is? Like, what is that like for you when you're starting to work with someone?
Well, it depends what the presenting issues are.
Hmm.
So I interview them, verbally
Okay.
beforehand and get a little history. And actually, I needed like three or four um, facts, data points.
Mm.
Where were you born? What happened in your early life? Um, how's your digestion? How's your breathing? Right?
Mhm.
How do you have a pain in the ass? Do you have a pain in the neck? Tell me a little bit about how this vehicle, this vessel, feels to you. How's your sleep pattern? So I
Mm.
ask these questions. Are you a firstborn? Are you a secondborn? Are your parents alive? Are they divorced? What happened when you were? So I kind of get a psychograph
Mhm,
and
mhm,
see how the body felt in the experience of going through in its matriculation in life to
mm,
get to a particular point. So some people have issues in their digestive tract. Some people have issues from an accident or an injury
mhm,
or an operation that didn't get metabolized fully.
mhm,
And so the body has all this historical material. So where to begin? Usually I begin having them feel safe, holding their hand or their feet, or putting my hand on their heart and having them breathe and relax and enjoy the air coming through the nostrils. And we can do this right now. Just breathe through your nose and out through your mouth. And as you breathe in through your nose, feel the cool air going into your eyes and flooding your cranium. And as you exhale, pierce your lips slightly and blow it like through a straw out. You do that a couple times, and you begin to feel a wave pattern in your body. And as this wave moves through your field, you might feel obstacles that shape it, like stones in a waterfall that shape the flow of the water. And those obstacles are karmic pieces where we swallow back, where we grip, where we feel like we don't trust. And it goes back to when, mommy didn't breastfeed us, or when there was an altercation in the house and we didn't want to see it. So we chose to look at it and then say, oh, that didn't happen, but it did, but we're going to pretend that, etc. So we
mhm,
create an illusion and we create the happy family that wasn't. So
mhm,
there's ocular and there's oral and things that we want to say in our mouth,
mm,
but there's no ears to hear it if we do say it. So we swallow it back. And so it goes into the gut where it's safe,
mm,
at least for now. And we'll take care of it later. Maybe we'll talk to someone about it later. But
mhm,
we start splitting time into later. And I don't want that to happen in the future. So I got to be vigilant and careful. And so now you're not wanting the future to be what was in the past, and you lose the present.
mhm.
That makes sense?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So most people aren't living in the present moment.
No.
They're worried about having something happen in the future that's like what happened back then.
Mm.
But if you get into the actual present and you start breathing, this moment, this golden moment, you're right here, right now.
Yeah.
And when you're here right now, am I okay in this moment? Well, so, looks okay. Let's build on this present moment and be okay. It doesn't have
Mm.
to be exquisite and better. It's just okay.
Mm-hmm.
And from
Mm-hmm.
there, we can begin to move through and observe and witness the historical material that keeps us from being alive. So, witnessing and observing that material is what the psyche wants to do. The soma, the body, is actually feeling. And if we go into the feeling level and
Mm.
observe it, it starts to change because we're observing it. This is science,
Mm-hmm.
physics.
Mm-hmm.
Once there's an observer, the field changes, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what people tend to do is they lose the observer and they become identified with feeling at such a level where they get gripped by that emotional experience, and then they, from that frame of reference, behave in a certain way. So imagine a sky
Mm-hmm.
with clouds going by. If you're in the witness, you're watching the clouds go by.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not in the witness, you get on the cloud
Mm.
and you travel in that cloud for a while. But if you go back to the sky, you can watch the clouds go by.
Mm-hmm.
This is Buddhism 101,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah. So I'm wondering when you start working with someone, like, so sometimes in energy work, what I've seen is if something is really intense and they just can't deal with it, they'll either fall asleep, they'll leave their body, like their energy will
Yeah,
leave their
right,
body
right.
so that things can be worked out. It's almost like they
Yeah,
have to kind of get out of the way and then they'll
yeah.
come back in. So I'm wondering if that's kind of what you mean when you say like the observer, or do you simply mean like someone actually being, I think, really held by your energy field and witnessed by you so that they can then
Yes,
drop into their body
right.
without necessarily leaving the body.
They're matching my witnessing
Mm-hmm.
by self-witnessing,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and they're not going away. They're actually present in a
Mm-hmm.
very sweet way, not hypervigilant present. They're
Mm-hmm.
just actually observing along with me what's going on. And
Mm-hmm.
we are co-creating and co-exploring what's going on in the right arm or the left intestinal area or where the leg starts to twitch. So as you start breathing and moving through the tissues, you might notice that a hand might start gripping or the jaw might start twitching
Mm-hmm.
or there might be a tear forming.
Mm-hmm.
So I watch in situ the laboratory as the human experience unfolds, and that tells me a story and a meta story of what's behind it all. And so as I touch different muscles, it gives me information about how that holding is hooked into a psychomemory or an impulse,
Mm-hmm.
like wanting to run away in the legs
Mm-hmm.
or hold your ground in the legs. So
Mm-hmm.
tight ass, tight thighs. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Do I want to run away, but I'm too young? Where do I run to? But I don't want to be here, but I don't know where to go. And so
Mm-hmm.
there's confusion about that. And so your thyroid and adrenals get affected by that confusion.
Mm-hmm.
And if something is um, like a death or something, a relationship that falls apart, there's loss. One has grief.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you actually nobly embrace that grief? Or if someone betrays you and you feel your boundaries have been crossed and you're really angry, how do you express that anger so that you are having integrity and self-respect without throwing everything into, catastrophe and blowing everything up? How do
Mhm.
you clearly express your anger? Say, this doesn't work for me. Stop it.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
And if you're never able to feel confident that if you did speak your truth through anger, then you swallow it back. And so then you get issues in your tissues, and your liver starts getting weird. And you basically
Mm.
start having issues in your constipation. You're holding on and you can't
Mhm.
let go because you're so holding on to that complex. So our work is my work, your work
Mhm.
is to metabolize these emotional experiences so we can actually take the shit, make compost, and grow a new garden. Transform it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It can be fun.
So when you are physically putting your hand on someone, let's just say you've kind of located the area, you know this is what's going on. Then what's happening? It's like you're getting impressions, visual impressions of whatever imprints are there. And then how do you move that energy out?
Well, generally the body gives me the clue as to what's to go. So it'll happen through the breath, the lips, the eyes,
Mm, mm,
the arms, and
mm,
we want all the organs to be in a harmonious place, but they're not. But we want that to be more harmonious. So it's just tuning up an orchestra, right? I'm a tuning fork, and I'm going through trying to get um, the experience in the body to feel harmonious,
mhm,
and that's a process. So I just let my hands follow what needs to happen. As I said, the legs, the arms, and the torso, and the head. And I'll do work with the jaw, and we do cranial work, and I'll work with the breath swallow mechanism. I'll have a gag reflex, and that allows people to open up their belly through like a psychic vomit. And
Wow.
so I mean, I'm looking at the biofield as a biocomputer that needs to be rebooted. Okay.
Mhm,
So
mhm,
some stuff goes to the trash and some things need to burn out and some things need to be washed out. And
mhm,
so it becomes kind of a metaphysical and a physical transformative cleansing. And then divine intelligence can come through. The body is basically um, it's a quantum theater
mhm,
of our entire life, and not just our life, but our ancestors' life through our DNA.
mhm,
So in a way, Kat, we are often doing the work that our parents and grandparents couldn't do because they didn't have the skill sets.
yeah.
They didn't have the support system
Mm,
that in this moment we have.
mhm.
And so in a way, we're not even doing our work. We're doing the work that they couldn't do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I remember on the phone you were saying basically like the front of the body is the present, the future, the back is like ancestral kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so okay, so that's really, really interesting. If you could just talk a little bit about that, especially like the spine, and just the different parts of the body, the front, the back, versus top versus bottom,
Okay.
what
So,
that means. And then
all right.
also just with what you do, you're literally so hands-on with people. They're releasing their deepest traumas, like you were saying, the psychic vomit kind of thing.
Yeah.
As a healer, and we talked a little bit about this before, but how do you not take that on? How do you not take that on where it becomes illness, within your body,
Yeah,
human
sure.
space? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you've given me a lot to riff on here.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So, well, let's start with the last part first.
Hmm.
Um, Many people are enamored by the healing arts and they do it for 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years and they burn out
Hmm.
because they take on, because they're empathic and they're very loving and compassionate, but they're not able, because they're not grounded
Hmm.
and they're not dispassionate and they're not seeing the karmic web.
Hmm.
They take it on because they want to help and they want to fix, but they're not serving. They're helping and fixing,
Hmm.
but they're not serving. And so they burn out. And in the healing arts, it takes a lot of consciousness work to be able to see and work with the energetic field of suffering.
Hmm.
So a practitioner has to grow a medicine body. And if they make it for 15, 20 years, they've actually gotten through that.
Hmm.
And then usually the lower back or arthritis or physical problems. Oh, this is like a physical workout thing. And then if they get through how to work with gravity and time and find ways to ameliorate some of that stress, they get to a flow state. So people have been doing this work for 25 years. Um, they begin to feel like they're in the flow.
Hmm.
And then you start to feel the suffering of humanity, that it's even bigger than just this person.
Hmm.
And then you move into a spiritual place where you're not doing the work is coming through you, you're a channel.
Hmm.
And most people burn out at doing that at about 30 years. I've been doing this work for 53 years.
Hmm.
So I've been interviewed by many people all over the world. And one of the things that, they talk about, what are the qualities? What are the qualities? I'll talk about the quantity. Doing this for more than half a century has made me a different kind of person than other people because I'm in the trenches working with the human condition of
Hmm.
suffering.
Hmm.
And in Tonglen, I take on the suffering and I let it go
In
through
blood.
me.
Okay. Wow.
Okay. So I'm porous, learning
Hmm.
porousness, that it comes through you and it doesn't hold on to you. Every now and then, there's a residue that that piles up, and I do all kinds of work to keep myself as a clean machine. But
Hmm.
I'm a human being, and I'm not perfect,
Hmm.
and I don't want to have any of my students or clients gurufy me. You
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
GURU. I
Yes.
want them to be the guru, and so I've never wanted to become like self-important and be the man on high. I want the person to feel they're the healer. I'm just facilitating them to do that work.
Hmm.
So, what I'm looking at is a balanced and harmonious vessel. Now we'll go back to the dimensions, okay?
Hmm. Hmm.
So, what I ask people to do is find left, right. Like, I'll use this. I'm going to grab a
Yeah.
level. Don't go
Yeah.
away. All right. So, I work in carpentry, plumbing, electrical, and I'm an artist, and I work with stone, metal, and wood. And
Hmm.
here's a tool, right?
Hmm.
So this level is this bubble right here, and this is in the middle. So left, right,
Hmm.
the the feminine and the masculine. If we balance ourselves out and we're right in the middle, that's a good thing. Many people do edges and they're
Hmm.
wanting to find the middle, or sometimes they go one edge to the other. So they become bipolar,
Hmm.
really strong, really submissive.
Hmm.
And all of our work is to find the harmonious middle ground.
Hmm.
So then the other dimension is going this way, back, front.
Hmm.
As we talk about, the front is my destiny, where I'm going, where I'm growing into, how I can feel my evolving being moving into what could be.
Hmm.
And the back is all the memory, all the DNA, all the ancestral loop, um, all the hardships that we had gone through and mostly conquered, but not,
Hmm.
and all that history. So, somewhere between our destiny and our earlier imprints, there's this present moment where we can hold all that and learn from it and take the wise choice, new path, knowing what we've learned, rather than repeating another failure. I think when you understand your failures, it's better than a misunderstood success.
Mm-hmm.
So every time we fail, we learn. In chess, you lose, you learn.
Mm-hmm.
When you win, you can be humble or gracious. But when you fail, you learn. And if you learn from the past, you're able to make right choices. Okay, so then there's the up down.
Mm-hmm.
The up part is transcendence. The down part is gravitas,
Mm-hmm.
where you're down in the salamanders and the stone and the rocks, the water and the darkness, the shadow.
Mm-hmm.
And the up is the light, Mount Everest and rainbows. So what's the balance between up and down? So you have three bubbles: up, down, left, right, back, front. When you have all those three bubbles concentric, then you can do the inside outside. How I feel inside and how I present myself outside.
Mm-hmm.
So there's an authenticity
Mm-hmm.
rather than coming from upper right, lower left, you're cattywampus,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and spiritual bypass coming from on high, talking about the way it's supposed to be. So that is the work, is to harmonize these dimensions so you can be authentic in your relationship with yourself, first of all, and then with other people. And when you can do that, you have intimacy with others and yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Most people have failed relationships because they've never gotten to be real,
Mm-hmm.
authentic, and balanced and harmonized.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I have a lot of respect for psychotherapy, and it can only go so far doing talk work.
Yes, I agree. I'm wondering with the left and the right, the up, the down, like, Chinese medicine, like you were saying, it's yin yang. Some healers say it's mother father wounds. Some say it's just your own feminine energy, your own masculine energy. How does that present for you? Because I know certain schools of energy medicine say, like, if you have any issues with, let's say you were growing up in elementary school and you were bullied and there were a bunch of girls that made fun of you, maybe that's stored in your left side of your body or something. But then the right side would be the masculine figure. So how does that present when it comes to the traumas that are held in different locations, in particular, like left, right versus up, down? Is it more? I know a lot of people just think feminine, masculine, mother, father, but does it go beyond that?
Yeah, it always goes beyond all these are like structures.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And then there's always the side door, coyote energy, the
mm-hmm,
unexpected. People
mm-hmm,
put their self-esteem in their spleen, or
mm-hmm.
their pride or their shame. So I look at the organs more um, um, completely, and the muscles that are related to the organs. So that's how I look at the body, mind, spirit complex.
Mm,
So I look at anger, grief, fear, low self-esteem, confusion, irritation, fear, um, disgust, despair. What else? We've covered a lot, but and resentment.
mhm,
All these kind of emotional vibrations have organ and muscle relatives,
mhm,
and so sometimes it's we want to strike out with our, and sometimes we want to curl in, and so
mhm,
there could be a complex of many things happening when we want to cave in, or
mm,
we want to primp ourselves up, and like here you're talking about the spine earlier. So
mhm.
what a lot of people would do is they'll actually overwork their presentation
Yeah, yeah.
in order to make sure that everyone sees they're a confident, grounded person. But it takes so much work because they're working so hard to do that. And the spine of the back that's pushing it forward is contracted in order to create that
Mhm, mhm,
image, right?
mhm,
And I think, what a lot of people do is they primp themselves up to the detriment of their unconscious backside.
Mm-hmm.
They're overly working that rather than relaxing into that. Who's got my back? My mommy and daddy didn't have it. When I was in elementary school, my friends didn't support me. So now you got to learn how to support yourself in the back
Mm-hmm.
so that your front isn't overcompensating to push out so much. So these overcompensatory kinds of energetic presentations are showing that there's a wound here that you haven't addressed or metabolized.
Mm-hmm. And what about, I think just for a lot of women, the opposite is true. For a lot of women, they present rounding shoulders, wanting to hide, not wanting to be seen.
Yeah.
Um, what would you say for that and how to heal that?
Well, I think they need to be protected. That's
Mm,
I need to be, I feel safe.
mm-hmm,
I am
mm-hmm,
loved.
mm,
All is well. Okay, that's the protection. Okay. So I would say that, if you're developing breasts as a child, a woman child, girl to woman, and
mm-hmm,
and you're becoming aware that you're attractive and you're attracting energy coming at you, and then you curl in because you don't want that attention. So there's this. I'm going to use it, but it's complicated and drama. I would say that if you can imagine that there's a cocoon of golden light around you, about 18 inches around your body. So there's a field where you're protected in the field, so you don't have to muscularly create the protection. You're protected by having an aura or an etheric body that
mm-hmm,
actually is kind of a medicine body that you feel like you have a little space to physically be in
mm-hmm,
because you have energetically created a protective shield.
mm-hmm,
And you program the shield to let the right energy in and prevent the wrong energy from coming in.
mm-hmm,
And if you think of a cell, it's a membrane,
mm-hmm,
right? And the inside the mitochondria and whatnot. And you've got amino acids and uric and lactic acids that are in going through this membrane. Well, you want the waste products to go out
mm-hmm,
and you want the nourishment to come in. So our body is programmed to let in that which is nourishing and to push out that which is not helpful.
mm-hmm,
That's what we excrete.
mm-hmm,
Input, output.
mm-hmm.
Um, and the divine intelligence is able to sort out what's good and what's not helpful. I mean, some people are so anxious about everything they eat, um, and they read every label and they're counting their calories and they're walking with their watches on, making sure that they're doing everything right.
Right,
But
right.
actually, they get unhealthy because of their anxiety
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
about it.
mm-hmm.
Where someone else eats and drinks and smokes and does everything, and they're fine
Yeah,
because they're not anxious.
right.
So anxiety, I think, is actually the real um, the real problem here. We're living in an anxious era.
Yeah.
We always have to deal with anxiety.
Yeah, I mean, I love what you said about the energy body because it brought up some thoughts. Like, I know within energy medicine, within our field, it's basically like the most subtle energies come in. And when energies are coming in, we have layers of the aura that can buffer and filter things out.
Yeah.
But once it reaches the body, it's been there for a while, and then it gets really dense, and then it's a lot harder to remove. But when you were saying the whole thing about the cell and the boundary, I think what can happen especially with trauma and especially with abuse of any
Right.
kind, emotional,
Yeah.
psychological, physical, sexual, is that those boundaries get broken, especially at a younger age, if that
Mhm.
happens when they're young, and or if it's like in a shattering accident or war, and then they have to, you, especially if it happened when you're young, until you actually learn about your field, energy medicine, things like that, how do you even know? Like, you don't even know. You just don't really have strong boundaries. You're feeling everybody's energy, you're feeling everyone's emotions. And then it gets to the point where, something happens, you see a healer, and then you're like, oh, now I need to work on my energy to fix that. But how does that? manifest? Like, how does healing for that manifest with people that have more traumatic pasts or very severe injuries, things like that, that have happened, accidents, where the field is broken, you would say, or it needs repair. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think the therapeutic cauldron of working with a practitioner that is trustworthy and human
Hmm.
and grounded, there's a
Hmm.
positive transference that can happen. And in this moment, there is safety, all is well, you are loved. And I think once the body begins to feel that in the present moment, you're okay, you can start building from that. Okay.
Hmm.
So this is the important part of having another person come in. But
Hmm.
what that homework is that after that experience, you want to incorporate that you need to become for yourself a new present in the moment self healer. In this now, you've made a safe life. And so you begin to metabolize little by little through either a meditation practice or walking in nature,
Hmm.
where you're consciously with intention titrating and pulling out that detritus, the wound,
Hmm.
and you're
Hmm.
taking it to the dump.
Hmm.
So I think what a lot of people will do is they take too big of a thing rather than titrate it. In other
Hmm.
words, I'm talking about chipping it away
Yes.
little by little, and this is what we call practice, having a regular practice. So I light a candle, light some incense, and I'll take out maybe my mother wound, or a relationship drama, or an abusive story, and I'll take it out for a little while, and I'll sit with it, and I'll pull out what was my part in it. Where did I go? 30 minutes later, okay, enough. Next day or next week, I'll do a little bit more. And I
Hmm.
think that if people will allow themselves and be patient and have faith that it will happen, but it doesn't happen all at once.
Right.
To have a practice.
Yes.
And so a meditation practice and an intentional experience with nature and the feeling that you can heal.
Yes.
And you need to do it and not depend upon the healer all the time.
Hmm.
So what the healer does, he or she catalyzes that which is in the person. So there's a lack of dependency on the healer at some point. So it's catalytic. I
Yes.
don't want to have people string along and see me all the time. I want to give them a an imprint that they can then work with and do the work on themselves. And then they come back a year later or 6 months later or
100%.
consult on the phone.
Hmm.
I know a lot of therapists, you need to, because it's a financial thing. You need to see me every week or 2 times a week. It's a program. Like I understand that.
Hmm.
What I'm talking about is another level.
Hmm. Hmm.
Is you need to get the real deal. This is what happened, and here's the homework. And if you do the homework, then let's go to the next level.
Hmm.
So you stage it, and you stage it over a period of uh, not a week or a month, but a year or two,
Hmm.
and maybe three. So you see yourself going through a cleansing, and it's not. And I think, and I don't mean to be pejorative, but this whole technology stuff that's happening with AI, everything is so quick and fast. And it's the new religion to tech. And I got to tell you, I'm pushing back. The physical body is not used to being overstimulated like we are.
Hmm.
So for me, doing even FaceTime or Zoom, there's a bit of visual cortex that goes on in this,
Yeah.
and it's okay.
Hmm.
My own preference would be to talk on the phone
Hmm.
without having all of this. When I was a child, I had a transistor radio listening to the LA Dodgers, and I could actually experience the game inside my head listening to the announcer. And I was really participative, and I could feel in my own um, opiate receptors, and my whole brain was full of imaginative feeling as if I was right there in the game.
Hmm.
Jump forward many decades, and now the TV has got these shots that are driving right into the person's nostrils, and it's showing you the playback, and it's showing you the entire. It's doing all that stuff for you, and so you're a couch potato, you're a consumer, but
Mm-hmm.
you're not in the same level of participation.
No. Mm-hmm.
So I think that what I'm saying is a lot of our problems is that we're overstimulated,
Mm-hmm.
and we think that we should actually get quicker healed faster, just like that, just like the TV. And the body is not oriented that way. The
Mm-hmm.
body needs to sleep. It needs to defecate. It needs to make love. It needs to garden. These are things that take time. And I think respect for a slower rhythm,
Mm-hmm.
and an appreciation of biotime. So moon cycles, and
Yes.
women will appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Going through a season.
Mm-hmm.
And if we really plant something in the springtime, we will, if we water it and care for it, we'll have the summer of our dreams.
Mm-hmm.
And if we enjoy and take care, we'll harvest in the autumn the fruit of that seed. So in the winter, we can come into our spiritual place and feel supported by all the good work we did.
Mm-hmm.
So there's an element of Taoism here.
Yes. It's interesting because I think basically you're kind of talking about taking time for integration, which is a
Yeah.
huge part of healing, which I don't think people understand, unless you've like studied this work, which is you can do the work, but it may take 1 to 3 weeks to whatever for it to land and for it to fully
Yeah.
go through the body. And if you rush it too fast, that's when things can go wrong. When you start, okay, I want to do the next session. Okay, I want to do the next thing. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Slow down.
Yeah.
Integrate. This is very, very good.
Yeah. And so we talked about this all the way in the beginning, barely touched on it. But if you can really talk about the element of karma, and you're talking about karmic contracts in the body
Yeah.
and how that surfaces, especially so when we think karma, a lot of people think past lives. So coming in, and there's proof on this. There's studies of I think it's Dr. Ian Stevenson. I don't know if you've seen his work with the past life studies, and he finds these kids that have birthmarks of all sorts, and they have
Yeah.
memories of their past life. He brings them to the family that they remember. They know everything. They are
Yeah.
literally that soul in a little body, and then they
Right.
have the birthmarks of the trauma that occurred in the wounding of their
Right.
death, the time of
Yeah.
death. So then there's that. And then there's also what you're talking about, which is like the karmic residue of things that happen in this life. So can you just speak a little bit about that, like the karmic soul contracts that we make with the physical body to come in this form that we look like and from
Yeah.
past lives?
Yeah. I think everything is now. All time
Mm-hmm.
happens at once.
Mm-hmm.
So what we call
Mm-hmm.
past lives,
Hmm.
is actually it's still happening. It's a different channel.
Right.
So
Right.
we're in this channel here.
100%. Yes.
Yeah. So what we're doing now, because we have the skill set, we can take care of what we didn't weren't able to in that situation. So sometimes we're healing our own karmic material,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes we're healing the karmic material of our ancestors or even the perpetrator of the karma. So
Mm-hmm.
we forgive them,
Wow.
we heal ourselves, and
Right.
we unhook from that, and the karma dissolves.
Yes.
Okay. So um, I think reconciliation of trauma is that we need to be witnessed. In our time, um, South Africa, when apartheid came to an end, if it wasn't for de Klerk and Nelson Mandela with Desmond Tutu, we would not have had a revolution without blood.
Mm-hmm.
We saw that happen without a war. So why it happened is there was a reconciliation experience where people were able to say to their perpetrators, and the perpetrator could not interrupt their wounded story.
Mm-hmm.
They were witnessed on TV, okay, what their wound was. So this is a social experience where karma was dissolving so that we didn't have to have a war.
Mm.
We're in lots of wars right now, but and I've worked in as I told you in Russia
Hmm.
in conflict resolution,
Hmm.
and I've worked with Chinese psychiatrists, and it's worldwide. So we're not talking about just
Yes.
American neurosis. This is the human condition.
Hmm.
And if we want to resolve karma, we need to have reconciliation and we need to have witnessing. And we need to have no crosstalk. It needs to be said without interruption. So you have to create a sacred space, a meditative mind, and the clarity to actually have the wound speak for itself
Hmm.
and have the resolution happen. And when it happens, thank God we didn't have to actually do the back in the 70s everyone was doing catharsis, and
Hmm.
beating the walls and
Hmm.
hitting, to get it out of you, right? Well, there's a point of diminishing returns. How much you hitting the walls are you going to do? So
Hmm.
now we've got MDMA therapy and DMT and ayahuasca. So we're actually doing substances that are actually having people like transcend.
Hmm.
But what I'm getting back to is the physical body
Hmm.
still has the material karmically.
Hmm.
So the answer to the question is we need discipline, we need structure, we need witnessing. And it can be simple. Light a candle, light some incense, tell your story, either verbally or write it down
Hmm.
and burn it or bury it. Go through a ritual. I think we've run out of ritual and
I
a
agree.
ceremonial placement.
Yeah, I agree. Like with ritual in particular, it's just grounding down what's happening energetically, and it's a powerful thing. And there's certain work, like within my work within the records, where there's certain things that we can't do, and they have to physically do it. They have to go into the water, release something in the water, whether it's a paper themselves, like almost like a self-baptism.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they have to write like what you just said, a fire ceremony of some sort, because there has to be an anchoring in the physical of what's happening energetically. Like it's not finished and complete until that ritual does occur. So I 100% ag-
Yes.
agree with that. Um, Also, I really just feel like I want to talk about your shamanic studies because it's almost like I see an overlay over you of maybe this is your past or who you really are, but it's like shaman, feathers, blue, like macaw feathers,
Yeah.
red paint. So I don't know what that's about, but you did a
Well,
lot
I've
of
been
things.
around the block.
Yeah. So if you could talk a little bit about that, just your studies and what brought you to all the things that the Taoism, the shamanism, and the masters that you've trained with to become really a master yourself, which you are.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I came in, well, sort of, I'm born again pagan from Pleiades, and I was born a Jew,
Hmm.
and you can't escape that. And I've studied Hinduism, Buddhism, and Christianity, and I'm not a joiner, as I said.
Yes, yes.
I'm a dragon, and I'm a Taoist.
Hmm.
I live on 9 acres of Mendocino forest, looking out over the ocean. And I work with elemental alchemy. And
Hmm.
so the trees are my brothers and sisters, and I'm a welder, and
Hmm.
I work with torches, and
Hmm.
and I transform
Hmm.
the material world. And I also I came in with this from what we would call multidimensional awareness, past life, if you will. So I have a 11,732-year-old past life in what would be now ancient China.
Hmm.
I was doing Tao before Lao, and I'm basically, you know, when I taught in China, I thought, oh my God,
Home.
I'm bringing like the Tao Te Ching, and I'm now working in Hong Kong with Chinese people, Cantonese, and they're Catholic because of the Jesuits coming through Macau and Hong Kong. And
Mm.
I'm a like a you know kind of a Western question authority, and now I'm working with Confucian Chinese that are Catholic dominated, and now they're materialists in Hong Kong. And I'm going,
Mm.
holy shit, how am I going to work with these people? And I actually found a through line through the body,
Mm.
and I had a lot of fun.
Mm,
working through these complexes of society, culture, history, and all these things. And I don't mean to use slash and burn, but I come in as a natural born killer of illusion. Let's just torch this thing, move the thing through, and become free of the
mhm,
karma, right?
mhm,
And
mhm,
and so I can go on and on about my experiences teaching conflict resolution in Russia and doing psychiatric interventions in China. And but I live in Northern California, and um, I I'm inspired by my own guides that come
mm,
through.
mm,
And as a child, I was quite lonely
mm,
because I didn't feel like family of origin could hold me. And so who am I? Where's my tribe? I thought there's going to be this kumbaya, and no. And so in my loneliness, I invited a help me, guide somewhere, please.
mhm,
And a blue light came into the room and it informed me, and it talked to me like a little, Tinkerbell in
mhm,
Peter Pan, and
mhm,
it was electric blue, and it was dancing around, and it has been with me my whole life.
mm,
Um, and it has been a guide. I also have a pink cloud, and I have a Cambodian healer. But in other words, I've got another seven guides in the astral that are like really smarty pants, but they talk all the time.
mhm.
They're
Right.
like Harvard and Princeton and Dartmouth, and they each interrupt each other. And I finally had to say, "Shut up! Just I'll call you. Don't." So now I feel like my guidance, I've got it down titrated to when I need. I
Mm,
ask and you shall receive, right? To the little
mhm.
Jesus there. Um, yeah. So shaman, you know, I do this little shaman, shaman. I mean, yeah, I don't like to be perceived in a guru shamanic kind of thing because there's trappings that go with that.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and
Power
and
dynamics. Yeah.
yeah, power dynamics. And
Mm,
so I did not change my name.
mhm.
Fred's a four-letter word, starts with F. I try to be ordinary. I go to the dump, the building supply. My local people know me,
Mhm,
as the guy in the hill that does these theater things, and I help people in my community,
mhm,
doing body work and teaching. And I resist the shamanic guruification of it, but I could see how it, from your point of view, from the Akashic field, how could you not? Yeah, so
Yeah.
you're seeing it, but within this lens of culture, um, it may serve certain people, but it may push other people away.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
if I'm going to be a man with a message, I pretty much want to keep it at a certain level where it's going to be received and not be distorted like, oh, he's too woo-woo,
Right.
or
Exactly.
he's too full of himself.
Mm, mhm.
So, yeah,
Yeah. With your experiences, I know you were talking a little bit. Well, Zach previously on the last episode was talking about how during session work, when you're releasing trauma, you do have these visions of what exactly was happening when it happened, like where it was happening, like
right.
live, pretty
Yeah,
much.
yeah. I can see the old movie.
Right.
I can see the shaming. I can see in his experience and that there's a withholding, and I can go into his biofield, clear out a block, and then help him take his resource and move it through his body and create the leg he was not born with. So that's like 3D printing. It's an alchemy. Um, that's the beauty. It's like I could see what could be. I create what needs to happen in manifestation, and through their breath and intention and the auspices of my guidance, we can change the energetic field. So he went from being wounded to being an elite athlete.
So with that, I know within the field and field work, like the fifth layer typically is the blueprint layer where we can start to etherically build, repair, surgically
Yeah,
everything. Is that what you're doing when you're building something like that? Where does
Yeah.
that energy come from? Like, where are you sourcing it from and how do you structure it?
Well, it's the karmic etheric body of the soul
Mm,
that wants to manifest in this incarnation
mm,
that which is core to it, if only the obstacles were removed.
hmm
So in Zach's case, he had a lot of parental kinds of family of origin material and his physical body stuff that was obstacles for that layer to come all the way through. So
mm,
it's kind of like lassoing the moon and
hmm
pulling in that dimension
All right.
and like fishing, fly fishing and
Mm-hmm.
holding it in and then aiming it through.
Mm-hmm.
And so the shamanic part is that I know how to lasso the moon, came it through and do that piece. So just think of if I were to write a little thing on my computer
Mm-hmm.
and push to printer,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and out comes a piece of 8.5, 11 sheet of paper like this
Mm-hmm.
with all the words that I'd written in here. So now I'm holding something in 3D.
Right.
Oh wow, this is actually a body.
Mm-hmm.
But before it was an idea in the
The ether.
electromagnetic field, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, we have the technology to do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing that through the body by tapping into that etheric, karmic, fifth dimensional field
Mm-hmm.
and traducing it through their field with the auspices of my wiring. And boom, out we come is we call it a miracle, right?
Right.
Magic. Okay, this is a miracle. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
so miracles happen. Do you believe in miracles? Do you believe in magic? I worked with a a famous artist who was Eleanor Roosevelt's best friend, and um, I never heard of him either.
Mm,
But he came to me after an injury,
mm-hmm.
and he was 3 years younger than I am now,
Mm,
and basically he'd gone to Stanford and gone to all kinds of clinics, spent a lot of money, and they were told him that you can't operate on the shoulder. It'd be like sewing up wet cardboard.
mm,
So he came to me with paint all over him, and he was angry and pissed. He was on drugs for the pain,
mm,
and he was basically told like you're out to pasture, and you can't tell an artist that.
right.
So he was despondent, depressed, angry, and drugged.
Mm,
And he was painting with his paintbrush in his teeth, holding it with his right painful arm, his left arm holding the elbow, and he says, "This is who I am now." And he was really angry and pissed off. And I
wow.
said to him, "Do you believe in miracles?" "Yeah." "Do you believe in magic?" "Yeah." "Can you cuss? Can you swear?" "Yep." "Okay, take your clothes off, get on the table." And I did some work in here, and he let out huge amount of expletives and tears and sweating bullets. And we
Mm,
opened up a field, and
mm,
out came this whole 50 years of holding his arm in a particular way. And out came this whole thing. And he went on to do this Kennedy Gallery in New York City, and world famous people came to have his thing. And um, what I'm saying is, magic and miracles happen if you can get down into the basement and deal with
mm.
the rage, anger, resentment, and grief.
Yes, yes, yes.
And no, no, a lot of people aren't able to get into to do that dirty work.
What about the case of deformities that since birth, like with Zach and or things like scoliosis or things that are more
Yeah,
like the bones are affected?
yeah, yeah. Well, you can do palliative work, you can do ameliorative work. You can help people with the muscular interface of the bones,
Hmm.
but much of the DNA in the scoliotic or kyphosis is pretty much a given within the DNA. There are surgical things that can be done, but there's going to be limitations after the surgery.
Yeah.
Certain things need to be accepted. I think acceptance is a huge piece. So
Mm,
then, if you accept the fact that the spine is scoliotic or kyphotic, you need to actually then work with the neuromusculature around the bones to soften the field and have the mindfulness allow some irrigation of peace to come into that and see this is a karmic experience
mm,
that I'm going to find grace within so that it becomes a meditation. And someone who is not born with that but has an automobile accident and they're alive because the surgeon was able to help them, but they had a steel rod going
mm,
up through this by
mm,
holding it together. So they can't do the yoga that you'd love to do,
mm-hmm,
but they can actually bend down enough to pick something up.
mm-hmm,
And they have to make peace with the fact that they're alive and they're held together by this steel.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So part of, I think, healing is acceptance. And
mm-hmm,
then after that, there's even more acceptance. When you finally fully accept, there's peace. And in that peace, you can find some flow with the given.
mm-hmm,
I mean, that's a humbling experience.
mm-hmm.
But many people that are still here because of medicine, or people who are born with defects, are on that journey. My work is to help them find a way of embracing and holding that in a way that feels authentic.
Mm-hmm. It's just reminding me so much of Doctor Strange, the Marvel movie. I don't know if you've
Yeah,
seen it.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, where he injures his hands. He's a surgeon. And then that takes him on a metaphysical journey. He's in India or Tibet or something. And then he becomes Doctor Strange. He's the master of time and portals and timelines and everything like that through the injury.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So if someone's listening to all of this, they're like, wow, this sounds amazing. I wish I could get this done. You're in California, so if people are in California, they could find you. But if they're not, how can they work with their body themselves in a way where they can start to maybe do some of this work? It like would practices like yoga move some of this energy in the same way? Like, what are some ways that listeners that may not have access to you or a skilled healer like you physically in person can work
Yeah.
with their body? And
Uh,
also, just what about acupuncture? Like, what are your feelings on acupuncture compared to what you do?
okay, I get acupuncture regularly. I get Rolf regularly.
Mm-hmm.
These are tools
Mm-hmm.
of moving chi,
Mm-hmm.
moving energy. Um, the work I do is different than moving the energy. It's actually changing the actual structure that the energy moves within.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we're transforming the plumbing and the electrical, the wiring.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and I have a lot of respect for all the modalities, and I've studied many of them. And as I said, I'm not a joiner of any of them, but I appreciate it all.
Mm-hmm.
And I do a variety of different things. And I'll use AccuFlow, and I'll do Rolfing strategies, and I'll do Reichian therapy, and I'll do all these tools because I have a workshop, and
Mm-hmm.
I want to do the art. The art is the work. I think people need to be touched by a skilled practitioner. And
Mm-hmm.
if they have the mindset, they could take a person with less skill than me or some of my students or mentees, and they can actually do some of the inner work of make up the difference
Mm-hmm.
of
Mm-hmm.
what that practitioner is doing by internally doing the work on themselves. I think learning how to touch your own meridians, working with your own TMJ, working with your own diaphragm, going into your pelvic girdle and learning. I mean, yeah, think of a horse or a cow on a pasture that moves
Mm-hmm.
up against a post. And
Yes.
you know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? They know exactly what angle to put that in because their creaturehood knows.
Mm-hmm.
I think most people
Mm-hmm.
are looking for a practice that's like whatever, Hindu or Buddhist or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
or a practitioner that's going to do it for them. And I'm saying, do it yourself. Find a way to learn how to find that kink in your own physicality and observe how you can get into your mouth and work with the bones and start to find the hitch and the get along. And you can see that there's occipital trauma and problems with the multifidus and semifidus muscles between the occiput and C2. Oh, that's it. That's when I had the car accident. Or this is when I was on the phone all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Or this is when I was swallowed back all the
Mm-hmm.
words I wanted to say to my mom who'd never got me.
Mm-hmm.
And so you start to do your own yoga in a
Mm-hmm.
deeper way, in a Reiki and therapy kind of way, in a with a sense of possibility. I can really change myself. And so when I go to see a practitioner, they might further enhance or support that process. So self work, the word do in, it's a self acupuncture thing where you hold points. Your practitioner's not doing it. You do your own points.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Jin Shin Jitsu, you've heard of that. It's the mother of acupuncture kind of stuff. Well, Jiro Murai um, discovered it on his deathbed, and he brought himself back to life by doing his own point work. He was doing meridian work, and he was left on a mountain in Japan to die. And 7 days later, they came to get his body, and he was glowing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they took him to the imperial palace, and they found the Kojiki, and discovered that many centuries earlier, when the Buddhist teachers and deep Chinese healer type, this is 5,000 years old,
Mm-hmm.
had archives written on parchment,
Mm-hmm.
and he was rediscovering through his own body work that which was written down in the ancient times.
Mm-hmm.
So we already know from the Vedas and from the Lemurians,
Mm-hmm.
this has been ancient material.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I'm doing in modern times is I'm just doing the old story. I'm old school,
Mm-hmm.
bringing in all that kind of stuff. But
No, I love that. It reminds me of how they say the best acupuncturists were actually blind and they were just seeing the meridians and that's how they would do their work.
right,
Um, and so
yes,
what about in the case where people don't want to be touched? Like, I'll just share personally, since I got very refined with like the energy work and the healing and
yeah,
the this and the that and all that stuff. I don't like going for manicures, pedicures, massages, etc. if I don't know the person, the energy.
right.
And I have a big like aversion to just being like physically touched. And I know a lot of people like that. So what's the story with that? And like how can you move past that block to get to this layer that you're talking about? Do you think it's just like fears of knowing that what's there and you just don't want to deal with it kind of thing?
Partly,
Okay.
there's history and maybe it's other lives, maybe it's this life
Mm-hmm.
where you had all these experiences that have led you to this type of work you're doing right
Mm-hmm.
now, and which is pretty much a kind of a acacia kind of overview field,
Mm-hmm.
and you're through the auspices of your mindset, you're inviting the community out large to actually drop in through your funnel into all kinds of possibilities. So, anyways, whatever your wound that caused you to kick it upstairs, you're now throwing to the world a funnel into
Mm-hmm.
all these kinds of things, and so you're in service. So your wounds, my book is Wounds into Blessings. That's the
Mm-hmm.
title. And in a way, your blessing is that you have global etheric consciousness up here.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think of an iceberg, right,
Mm-hmm.
that the top of the iceberg is floating above the water,
Mm-hmm.
but you put on some scuba equipment and you go in, 92% is underwater.
Yeah.
And all this stuff is like junk DNA. But it's all contributing to this whole field.
Mm-hmm.
So for you to go into that deeper spaces in there, you might have the collective trauma of your genetic inheritance. You
Right.
might have your own personal feeling of being in your mother's womb. You might have the experiences of being in a childhood home that didn't feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
All the things that we can look at macro level, but in the micro, your version.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it feels overwhelming. And so maybe the safest place is to kick it up to this part of the iceberg, kick
Hmm.
it upstairs. So what I would suggest is you don't have to go a deep dive and get it all now, but maybe snorkel a little bit and,
Yeah.
and play with the edges of having safe touch be for you a feeling of all is well, I
Yeah.
am loved and lovable, and let's play.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now, if you didn't have playmates that were safe and you were shamed or you were not worked in a way that was loving and whole, then the wound and the wrinkle tends to dominate.
Mm.
So my job would be to use far infrared therapy,
Hmm.
electromagnetic pulse to actually shift the field on a, these are tech tools, but to go in with my own hands and start to work out the imprints that are there.
Hmm. Hmm.
So think of a tennis shoe going over a piece of clay, and that sole design goes into the clay.
Hmm.
You might have an imprint,
Hmm.
and you think it's you, but it's something that happened to your field.
Yes. Hmm.
My job as a somatic agent would be to take the clay and work it through so the imprint is now dissolved. That's the karmic dissolve. And so
Hmm.
now you can actually be a play in a place where you can actually play in a different way because the imprint is not running you.
Hmm. I love working with the myofascial therapy balls. Like, do you feel like that could be just as effective, you think, if you're consciously putting your awareness there and maybe just laying there for a few minutes or no?
They're all good. I work with equipment. I've got all kinds of tools. There's no substitute for the human touch,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
not every human gets to the skill level that I've gotten to.
Yes. Yes.
Um, but there are lots of skilled practitioners
Hmm.
that can do work with you. But the people that come to see me generally have been through a number of other types of healers that
Hmm.
they want to try this kind of level of work.
Hmm. And just to seal off the interview, this is completely like a separate topic, but I do want to ask you about your work with art and
Yes.
in particular your connection to dragons. I love dragon people. I'm a dragon person myself. My old mentor who
Yeah.
passed, he was also big on that, and it's an energy. And so I want to know your connection to that and your artwork because it's obviously there's such a parallel there with what you're doing physically with your
Yeah.
sculptures and your art and your work, and then the
Yeah.
body. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I think to bridge the healing arts, I'm an artist in the healing work, so I'm
Hmm.
sculpting consciousness through the body.
Hmm.
But I also live on these 9 acres and I've got wood and I work with metal and I work with stone. And I've had an opportunity to create in landscaping a walking art gallery and a changing room and a portal and a koi pond. And I built dragons that breathe fire.
Hmm.
And I have a community theater every year, the Saturday after Labor Day. And it'll be our 26th year this September 6th.
Wow.
And it's an event that, people come and they see the dragons that we built. Um, and there is, and now I'm building, there's a Torii gate with a duality sculpture that I'm working on. And I'm 90% through with my co-creator, Emily, a Unity piece.
Mm.
And this piece that I'm really happy with right now has Kuan Yin and a piece of marble and 7 feet high, and it's got wings, and
Wow.
it's green with copper. It looks like koi swimming in a field of water, and it's wavy, and it's concrete and mortar
Hmm.
put into this infrastructure. But then inside is a piece of Port Orford cedar log with a candle, and on top of that will be my sister's ashes, my
Mm.
mom and dad's jewelry, and the photographs of my mentors. All of them have dead. They're died. And eventually
Hmm.
maybe my own ashes are going. So I'm creating this little shrine to hold the grievings
Mm.
that when I was with them in their passing, I didn't feel like I was completely through my grief. So
Mm,
in building the art, I guess my point is, art is for me to metabolize my own karmic field. It's my off-gassing
mm,
of
mhm,
the healing arts work. When I take on stuff, I feel like I putter in my workshop
mm.
and I transmute through form some of the karmic dross, the waste
Yeah.
products, the residue, if you will.
Hmm.
And I feel like I'm able to transform the karma. And my wife gets to watch me do that and call me in for dinner. And I got six grandchildren. They're all running around the property. And so we're always playing with arts and crafts as well. And I think most people need an outlet for
Yeah.
their stuff.
Yeah.
So,
For me, it's salsa dancing. If I just get too much gets, I just no. I put on
yeah.
music. I gotta let it go. Even if it's in my
That,
space, I don't care. And then I feel better within like 10 minutes. But I love that with Kuan Yin because I don't know if people know the story of Kuan Yin, but with what she does and how she helped people, I mean, that's so obviously the energy's there, and that's why you're just anchoring it down. Otherwise, the sculptures wouldn't be there.
yeah, well, the divine feminine.
Hmm.
Um, I'm in a male unit, but I have channeling divine feminine through me.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I think most people in polarity need to bring in the polarization, the opposite,
Yes.
you know, and to balance and harmonize the whole field. So, I mean, electricity works with both currents, right?
Hmm.
You know, and we're living in a time right now where people are confused about gender and binary kind of stuff, and they're making all kinds of stories, socio-political and whatnot. Inherently, there's in-breath, out-breath, there's sun, there's moon, there's polarity.
Yes.
And so for me, I've always wanted to balance out the feminine and the masculine,
Hmm. Hmm.
and the up and the down,
Yeah.
and the left and the right, so I can do the inside outside, which is what our interview has been.
Well, thank you so much. If there's any last message that you want to share to everyone listening who's heard this, they're really thinking, wow, I've got some work to do. Uh, I know I need to dive into this. You've inspired me to do that. If there's any message that you have for anyone listening, last message, finally.
I'm going to read to you the little part of the book I haven't written yet. This is a rough draft.
Okay.
Okay, flesh is God's clay.
Hmm.
The human experience needs a new worldview that doesn't leave the body behind. Karma balancing, fear not, be strong, forever young, always wise.
I love that, Fred. Ah, it's so profound. Everything you say is so profound. And I just really want to thank you for your time, your
My
energy,
pleasure.
your work in the world, and just your wisdom. Like, you make me emotional. I don't know what it is.
Well, it's okay. Please have people, if they want, they can go
Yeah.
to my website,
Mhm.
somaticagency.net.
Thank you so much. So, thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. I did not expect to get emotional. I think Fred just has such a healing aura about him, and his energy and just his soul energy is so strong within his body that it truly works wonders. So I hope that you enjoyed this episode. And if you're lucky enough to live nearby in the Northern California region, then I definitely recommend seeing him for a session. And so normally I always ask the guests how you can find them at the end, but as you saw, I was a little overwhelmed, so I forgot. So I wanted to mention that you can find Fred on his website at somaticagency.net. And I would recommend checking out his documentary that is on the page. It was really moving for me to see, and I think you get a good sense of his work. And he also has his book, Wounds into Blessings, and that's available on Amazon. And I'm sure you could find that online. So, thank you so much again for listening to this week's episode. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe to the Soul Awakening podcast. When you subscribe, you'll be notified of our new interviews and episodes that release once a week, every Friday. You can find all the episodes online on catfowler.com/soul awakening podcast. On Spotify, you can now watch it on Spotify, which is great, or listen to it. You can listen to it on Apple Podcasts. And then we also have a YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/cat_Fowler. And that's all in the show notes, so you can find the information there. Also, please don't forget to leave a review while you're here. So, if you love the information that you heard today and it sparked something in you, feel free to share this with your friends and family as well. I'm your host, Kat Fowler, and thanks again for listening. I'm wishing you lots of peace, lots of introspection and healing this week, and I will see you on the next episode.